Okay, guys, let's talk Zillow. I know that this is a hot topic on the internet right now. I know that people are curious to know what this means. Does this mean there's a housing crash coming? Is it looming? Is it on its way? Well, let's kind of dive into it a little bit. So yesterday, Zillow decided that they were going to announce that they are going to stop buying homes for the rest of the year due to supply chain issues. Now, say what you want. I find this to be a little skeptical. I'm a skeptic, as you know, most people who know me know that my first instinct is always to question, no, what is it in for them? Why would they be stopping, or why would they be slowing down? Well, they decided that they came out with their press release right at the end of the day as the stock market was closing, and they decided to say that they were going to stop buying homes through their iBuyer program. Well, they blame supply chain issues and being able basically to, I guess, fix these homes up and to be able to rent them or to be able to resell them or whatever the case may be. They're blaming supply chain issues. And not that there's not supply chain issues, because there is. However, Zillow has enormous buying power. And if you are going to have an issue with supply chain, why don't you just scale back your iBuyer program? Why would you completely halt it? Well, I think that the fire out there got a little hasty online for Zillow. And as of this morning, I think it was first thing this morning, they had people out on CNBC and some of the other early morning, financial news shows, mainstream media news shows, basically saying that, well, Zillow could restart buying homes, early next year. Well, I'm just not buying it. I really don't. I think that they are kind of testing the waters and holding off because they see something coming down the pike. Now, I could totally be wrong, but I do think that it's interesting how they are, just saying that they're going to completely stop. With a housing market that they basically have come and said that this is the new normal and this is how it's going to be and this, that, and the other. I'm just not buying it. I think that there's a lot of things in the forefront that are happening right now where things are just slowing down, and it is obvious even to someone who doesn't follow what's going on in the economy, someone who doesn't follow what's going on in the housing market. And it is obvious because so many things are happening in this perfect storm. There are obvious supply chain issues, but those supply chain issues are being shown throughout social media where it's just these it's just these or these cargo ship containers off of the coast of California, just sitting there waiting. And, that might be a supply chain issue. Then you have the renters moratorium that came to an end. And people are getting their homes back from renters who just decided to not pay their rent for the last 18 months. And I came across one of those homeowners recently, and basically they just want to be done with, with the pain of having to pay the mortgage on that house, paying the taxes on that house, paying the insurance on that house, all the things that they paid and were not making any income. These are not wealthy people. These are people who were, investing in and having a home to make a little bit of money off of. But a lot of these people are not super, super wealthy. They don't necessarily have the money to be paying extra insurances and taxes and things like that. And remember that renter's moratorium for the mortgage owner only covered the mortgage. It doesn't cover all those other things. So a lot of these people found themselves in a really sticky situation. And I have heard through the grapevine that there are a lot of people who were renting these homes. And then when it came time to leave these homes, they had an issue with being evicted. So they did a lot of damage in these homes. And, it's hard to believe that people would be that disrespectful and, that malice, but they are. And, then there's a lot of damage. So some of these people are just going to be putting their homes on the market. They don't want to have anything to do with it, and they're going to be done. So that's going to help the supply issue in the housing market. But also now the mortgage moratorium has come to an end, at least for the most part. And, the mortgage companies are definitely trying to work with a lot of the mortgage holders. But again, the even if they're trying to work with the mortgage owner, I think a lot of these people are like, you know what, let's go ahead and sell while the market is hot. So that, again, too, is going to add to some more supply in the housing market. Now, I do think that there's a lot of interesting things going on in China. I don't necessarily know how quickly any of those things, any of that can, domino effect will affect the housing market here. But there is a bit of an issue with some people who are invested in China. Some of the banks that are invested in Chinese properties, it just, we don't know how much money they have invested that they're not going to get paid back. Is it going to be another Lehman moment? Is it going to be a Bear Stearns issue? No one knows what's on the books of some of these banks and how invested they are in China. And it's interesting because the Chinese government has basically said, hey, you guys are not going to get paid first. It's the Chinese investor that will get paid first. And quite frankly, even the Chinese investors are not getting paid back. Evergreen is like $300+ billion in debt. They are over leveraged, and it's just not going to help. So, if you're Zillow or, Open Door for that matter, if you're any of these companies, yeah, it might be a good idea to kind of hold off and see what happens over the next 2 months, because there's a lot of things that are out there that seem to really be, flashing big red signs and big red symbols as saying, hey, caution, caution, do not invest. And I do think that the housing market in general just hasn't been able to keep up with people who they don't have the money for it. Now remember, when you're buying a home, yes, you are absolutely 100% buying your monthly payment, okay? And your monthly payment 5 years ago might be very different, considering the interest rate has gone down practically to 2% in some cases. I mean, it's insane, right? So, that makes the difference for maybe the price hike in the housing market, in the payment of the house. However, keep in mind, the down payment is the issue. People don't have the down payment for a home. You still need at least 10 to 20%. And if you don't have that 20%, then you're adding on, a PMI of no telling what, depending on where you live, depending on the price of the house that you're buying. So all of those things, do come into play. People say, oh, well, you only are buying your monthly payment. Yeah, that is absolutely true. But you have to remember, you have to have the down payment, and you have to be able to, if you don't have that down payment, you have to be able to pay that PMI. So I do think that that's an issue. We'll see how that plays out. But I do think that over the course of the next few months, we'll see how the housing market has, how it shakes out. But I do see some things. I would be very cautious about buying a home right now, but there are still some good deals out there. You just have to look for them, find them, and understand that if somebody bought their house in 2021, in March of 2021, and they're trying to sell it today for about $400,000 or $500,000 over what they paid for it, just know that's probably a bubble, because that's not natural. So you guys tell me what you think in the comments below, and we'll keep our eye on it. We'll talk about it soon again and see where we are in a month or so. Talk to you then.